Hello, it's me, and this is a show that I like to lovingly call Rob Carson's What in the World is Going On, and today I think I might change the name to Rob Carson's What the F is Going On? Welcome to the show. This is live. This is from Kansas City, Missouri. This is from, 30 miles east of Lawrence, Kansas, which was part of a 1980 show that came on that scared the hell out of people at the end of the world, and we're not going there. Do you remember that? It was the day after tomorrow. Hello, this is Lawrence, Kansas. I was a child, scared the crap out of me. That's literally 30 miles from the west. My son goes to school there. And today we're going to have an adult conversation about this pandemic that is supposedly hitting the United States and how we have let our fictionalization and our infantilization of our society get the best of us, and now we're acting like a bunch of bat crap crazy lunatics, right? So what I would do is that we are in this together today, right now. Share it with other people because you're not going to get this perspective from anybody else. For many years, I was on the radio, and I was able to comfort people through a variety of different issues, whether it be N1H1, whether it be September the 11th, whatever. I'm not a sage. I'm going to raise my seat a little bit. There you go. I'm just a guy who hasn't forgot what common sense is all about. And this all snowballed to me and kind of pissed me off, to be quite honest, in the last 24 hours because it is affecting my family, it is affecting my livelihood, it is affecting the livelihood of many people in this country. People who are not going to restaurants, people who are not going to movie theaters, people who are not going to the health club, people who work at those facilities not being able to make a living because of this coronavirus, which is no more severe than anything we've seen before. It is less deadly than Ebola, certainly less deadly than smallpox, certainly less deadly than many maladies that have swept across the world and across the country, and yet we are choosing to make this wreck our lives. I've never seen anything like it before. Years ago, there was a man who said the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Not a big fan of Mr. Roosevelt and his policies, but at least he had some balls. There's another expression in England. It was keep calm, carry on. There were people who had to live in the subway tubes as London was being bombed to smithereens, and people had more balls than we do today. As we run to Walmart and Target and Whole Foods, for God's sake. You know things are bad when Whole Foods, their store shelves are empty because, seriously, who the hell can afford to shop at Whole Foods? And honestly, who needs organic toilet paper? But we all need to lighten the hell up. We all need to calm the hell down. Lighten up and calm down. There you go. I just made up an expression for this. Lighten up and calm down. And we are going to have some fun today. We are going to have some comedy with the broadcast today. We do have some people already joining us, including John Matthews. John Matthews, how you doing, buddy, in D.C., and James McCarter, my good friend, and Gary Gilder, and Josh, my nephew. How you doing, my friend? And you're in the epicenter, Josh, my glorious nephew. You're in Washington, D.C. Yesterday, my wife went to Target, and she sent me a picture, and during a snowstorm, it'd be kind of funny, because I lived in Washington, D.C., and during a snowstorm, you would see shelves emptied of bread, toilet paper, and water. This wasn't funny. My wife sent me this picture of Target, the store shelves stripped clean today. Last night, I went to a little grocery store. It's a discount grocery store that I go to, and there were everything cleared off the shelves, especially the toilet paper and the paper towels and all that. I went to Walmart today. I could barely get a good steak. I said, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to have a good buddy of mine over. We're going to have some steak. I'm going to make steak. And we're going to calm the hell down, and we're just going to relax for a second. And the store shelves had been stripped at Walmart, for God's sake. I'm not going to let this get the best of me, and you shouldn't let it get the best of you. I'm going to give you some statistics here real quick, kids, okay? We live in a world of 6.5 billion people. 6.5 billion people. And you can look at graphics on TV, and you can see the big plumes of the virus and all of it, and it's exploding, and it looks gigantic, and it's not. Right now, in a population of 6.5 billion people, 156,000 people have gotten the virus. 156,000 people. When the swine flu pandemic hit the United States, 2009, 2010, 61 million people got it. I didn't get it. I had people tell me, oh, yeah, I got it. I had a friend of mine named Gio. He's a 27-year-old guy. He goes, oh, yeah, I got it. I didn't get it. 15,000 people died in that pandemic. Right now, we have 156,000 total out of a population of 6.5 billion people who've caught the virus. Total deaths, just under 6,000. In a global population of 6 billion. So 6,000 to 6 billion. You do the math. I'm not good at math. I'm like those guys on MSNBC. How many people have recovered out of those 156,000 people who have gotten the virus and tested positive for it? Many of them who have not exhibited symptoms. 156,000 worldwide. Many of them not exhibited symptoms, severe symptoms, got tested positive. 74,000 people have recovered completely from it. This is without a vaccine. This is without real serious treatment. I mean, there's nothing you can really treat this with. And 6,000 people have died worldwide because of this. And we've got people going to the store and emptying the damn shelves of everything. Hello, John. Hello, Greg. Hello, Carol. Thank you for joining. And please, will you share with other people here? This is a small enterprise. I'm a guy with a home studio. But I have, not me. I don't care about me. I'll get through this. I'm okay. I don't need help. And if I get it and I get sick, I'll get sick. I hope it won't kill me. But by God in heaven, I'm not going to let my family and my friends suffer through this because some idiots are fomenting terror. New York's Mayor Bill de Blasio today said we should assume that everyone in the city of New York City has this virus. Are you out of your goddamned mind? Are you out of your goddamned mind? Are you what the hell are you trying to do? You should assume that everybody in the city has the virus. A city of 10 million plus people. How many people? Half a dozen cases in New York City. And he wants everyone to assume that they have the virus and they should proceed as necessary. I saw this today and I went, you've got to be kidding me. Again, I'm not concerned about me. I'm concerned about people who are trying to make a living. I'm concerned about people who go in and they wait tables for a living and they depend on tips. And they work in movie theaters and they need hours. They need hours just to pay the bills, just to buy the milk and bread that is no longer available in store shelves. And the people at Walmart who get in so early this morning. I got in this morning, I'm like, we don't think about these people. We don't think about these people who are there and they're scared too. And then you have idiots like Bill de Blasio saying that we should assume everybody has it. Well, you know what? Honestly, bullcrap. This is a poll yesterday, ABC News. 26% of adults are very concerned about the coronavirus. 40% are only somewhat concerned. 26% they are not so concerned. 7% of us say we're not concerned at all. This is not smallpox. This is not the bubonic plague. This is not Ebola. And yet, for some reason, we are allowing this. It really is breathtaking, right? If this is resonating with you, and if you are tired of it, show me some love on the screen. Show me some emojis. Share with others as this broadcast goes along, because I'm not going to take this anymore. I'm not going to lay here, and I'm not going to just wait for my friends and neighbors and cohorts to suffer because they don't have any customers in their business, because they can't sell any movie tickets and they can't sell any cars, because some people have them so freaked out about this coronavirus, which is not unprecedented at all. It's not unprecedented. We've seen this before again and again and again and again and again. All right, we've got John on the line here. We've got Greg watching as well. Stock markets rallied yesterday, by the way. And you'll see me looking over here occasionally because I'm a one-man show. I'm a one-man show. So I have to run everything by myself while talking to you. Here is the president. Let me just scroll down here. This is the president yesterday talking. And, of course, we started this all off. This was a purely political exercise. This was an opportunity for Democrats to say that the president has failed in every single way, and hopefully upset the balance of power going into November. That hasn't worked. The House voted on a bipartisan agreement to fund additional unemployment, SNAP benefits, and whatnot, because the Democrats realized that it isn't working just to pin this on Donald Trump. It's not working. It's not affecting his approval rating. And God, if you think in terms of approval rating on days like this today, you need to self-quarantine, and you need a stupid vaccine. But clearly these attacks have not been working. And they reached a bipartisan agreement, and they gutted the bill that Nancy Pelosi and typical Democrats decided to add a bunch of crap to it, including funding for abortion overseas. What does that have to do with anything? Some Democrats saw this as an opportunity to pork up, to use a crisis to extend an ideology. And that is the most sickening thing I can imagine. And many of those things were stripped from the bill that was passed. I hope maybe it's because some people had a modicum of common sense rather just being focused on poll results. Here is the president yesterday declaring a national emergency with regard to the coronavirus.
The federal government did this effort today. I am officially declaring a national emergency. Two very big words. The action I am taking will open up access to up to $50 billion of very important and a large amount of money for states and territories and localities in our shared fight against this disease. In furtherance of the order, I'm urging every state to set up emergency operation centers effective immediately. You're going to be hearing from some of the largest companies and greatest retailers and medical companies in the world. They're standing right behind me and aside of me.
And they were there yesterday, by the way. There were a bunch of retailers, Walmart, Target, whatnot, and there is no food shortage. Crystal, hello and welcome. My liberal friend Crystal, since high school, says that anyone in contact with elderly babies or sick people should be self-quarantined. Yes. My mother is 91 years old, almost 91 years old, and I want her to be self-quarantined. I get it. I'm not doing it, though. I went to Planet Fitness this morning, and I used hand sanitizer, and by God, I'm going to do it. Crystal says wise words. Crystal, that means a lot to me, because we differ we are very different ideologically. Those who, as with anything, and here's the glorious thing. Your mom was right. Your grandma was right. What did your grandma say? What did your grandma say? She said, wash your hands. She said, don't pick your nose. Don't touch your face. Grandma knew it. Mom knew it. This is all true. This is all true. All of these. Oh yeah, my mother. When I was growing up, she kept some bacon fat in a can on the stove. We ate natural food. We had chickens. We had vegetables. We didn't have artificial sweetener and all this stuff. God, I sound old, don't I? But my mom was right, and her mother was right, and she said, you know what, eating natural food, is nothing wrong with it. My father died 72 years old because he smoked. They did his autopsy, and they checked him out, and this man ate bacon and beef and potatoes every day. Not a lick of heart disease, nothing. Common sense is, unfortunately, no longer common. And it's particularly apparent when we see things like this happening. How are we going to get through this? What's the one word that I said there in that sentence? I want to look at my comments here. How are we going to get through this? What's the one word in that expression I just said that is the most important? How are we going to get through this? How are we going to get through this? What's the most important word there? It's we. It's we. We have to get through this, and we have to realize that we are we, and if we disagree with each other ideologically, we have to realize that we all have to make a living. We all have to help each other. Is this the thing that brings us together? I don't know. But I'm not going to lay idly by and watch my friends and neighbors suffer because of this. I'm not going to sit here idly by as those who are most impacted, those who are waiting tables, those who are selling cars, go in, if they're lucky to go in, and are greeted with empty tables, are greeted with empty showrooms, all of that stuff. What good is that going to do anybody? What good is that going to do anybody? What good is it going to do you to panic and go to Walmart and buy as much hand sanitizer as you can? What good is it going to do you? It didn't do any good during Ebola. It didn't do any good during H1N1. It didn't do any good against any of those pandemics. It didn't do any good against the great pandemics of the past, the bubonic plague, malaria. Grow the hell up. Be adults. We have infantilized our society in so many different ways. And I am a father of all things that I am, and I have a lot of weaknesses. I am a father and a husband. Those are the most important things that I could possibly be, and by God in heaven, I will fight to the death with any mother effer who wants to F with my family or my friends or my way of life. So it's time to grow up, people. It's time to say, bring a can of hand sanitizer and go to the goddamn restaurant and have a frickin' steak. Or go to McDonald's, or go to wherever, or go to the goddamn grocery store and buy your normal supplies. You don't need to worry about toilet paper, of all things. Dear God in heaven, are we so stupid? I don't want to make this about just chastising people, but by God, I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to live this way. I'm not going to live panicked. You shouldn't either. Hello, John. John says, good common sense, Rob, from you. Oh, that's the first time. Lou Campbell and Daniel have joined us. Thank you, among others. And John Stevens, am avoiding going out unnecessarily. Daughter is an RN, so her sources are my go-tos. The news media are providing meaningful information, but present it is in total a shock jock method. Yes, I agree. Crystal says common sense stuff. Thank you, Crystal. Will you, I want to be on for a little while, so would you share with other people? Oh, by the way, leaked government records reveal the first coronavirus case emerged in Hubei in November. This is in China. It's not It's not xenophobic to say it happened in freaking China. All right, this is a country that is known for, I don't know, arresting people, putting them in jail, crushing people to death in Tiananmen Square. Oh, by the way, the guy who was the whistleblower on the original coronavirus in China is dead. And it's not because he was feeble. He was a young doctor, and he just made the mistake of sounding off and saying, hey, China might be covering something else. Boom, you're dead. You're dead. I'm looking at texts right now. I'm looking at texts. All right. My daughter and my wife are flying to Florida for a couple of days. My son is going with. And I'm at home. First case of a person suffering from the new coronavirus can be traced back to November 17th, Chinese province of Hubei. The date is more than 7 weeks before Chinese officials announced they had identified a new virus, and over 2 months before various cities in the region went into lockdown to contain the spread of the bug. Beijing claims the first coronavirus patient fell ill on December 7th, and now they are blaming it on the United States. Kind of like blaming the person you gave chlamydia to. It's like, I don't know. I know she says I gave her chlamydia, but seriously, she gave chlamydia to me. That's what happened, right? Yeah, please. Here's what we got to do. This is a report. We all need to stay home, apparently.
Carrie Hopperstadt's 3 sons are home today. For the next 2 weeks, they'll be learning online.
She gets kind of a ramping up, learning the technology, figuring out what each teacher is expecting.
Their school outside of Seattle is closed, one of many districts in states across the country that sent students home. In Scarsdale, a suburb of New York City, children will be out through the middle of next week after a teacher tested positive for the virus.
Thinking about the logistics of the next couple of weeks.
The reality of prolonged school shutdowns as a precautionary measure could be crippling. 22 million students rely on free or reduced price school lunches. For many, it's their only hot meal of the day.
And by the way, just let me comment on that real quick. If you're a parent, you rely on the school to feed your kid, you probably shouldn't have had children. Sorry. Really cold and cruel of me to say. But if one of the fallouts is that a kid's not being fed, then seriously, there are the parents who probably shouldn't have children.
While health and safety are the priority.
I understand it when when times are tough and things are a little bit hard. But honestly, if you're relying on your school to feed your kid, seriously, there's another thing about the education process. I think it's called education.
It's unclear how much keeping students home will slow the spread of the virus.
You can imagine families where parents don't have paid leave, who are working at relatively low-paid jobs, who have to stay home to take care of their kids, and they lose
This is what I'm saying, people.
Their basic source of support.
Several colleges canceling classes and study abroad programs.
Okay, this is a dated report because a lot of things have happened since then, like KU, where my son goes to college, Kansas University, has been canceled. My daughter's school was canceled on Friday indefinitely for now, at least through spring break. She's on spring break right now. It's madness. It's madness. And what's the answer to it? Well, apparently the Democrat Party feels like that if we just socialize medicine, things would be better. All right, I'm trying to get this to play, and it's not going to play. So I'm going to go ahead and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Let's go on to Nancy Pelosi on, I guess this was on Thursday or Friday. She decided to make a comment about the coronavirus in all of her glorified facelifted self. She didn't mention the president one single time.
We want to take you to Washington now. This is House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
For weeks, our nation has been faced with a grave and accelerating challenge, one that tests our compassion and
the fact that I don't have eyelids anymore. No, actually, it's a coronavirus. It really has no eyelids. Look at that.
Solve the coronavirus crisis.
I think they go up into her forehead. Look at that thing. What the hell?
Sadly, and
does anybody have eyelids like that?
Prayerfully, we have learned of the tragic deaths of at least 41 Americans.
50 now.
From this public health emergency so far. The American people expect and deserve a coordinated, science-based, and whole-of-government response.
Okay, real quick. Right there was the first time she blinked her eyes since I stopped the tape last time. Who does that to? Can she blink her eyes?
Them and their loved ones safe. A response that puts families first to stimulate the economy. To put families first, last week the House passed a strong bipartisan $8.3 billion emergency funding package of entirely new funds. We made a well-funded, evidence-based investment in public health, in developing treatments and a vaccine available to all.
She didn't mention, by the way, the president's name a single time during her address, which means that either they finally realize that they can't just blame it on the president and it doesn't do any good to do that, or maybe the president's doing a damn good job. And I used this analogy the other day. Where's the hotbed right now with regard to the coronavirus? And hello, Alan. How are you? And hello, John. Welcome to the show. The hotbeds of the virus right now are China beginning to fade, and Europe. And here's the deal: you got your China over here, you got your United States right here, you got your Europe over here. China, U.S. Coronavirus happens. Okay, U.S. goes no. Hold on, this one. No to this border. No to this border. Because there's a virus coming in from China. Okay. Where is Thumpkin? Where is the virus? Here I am. Here I am. How are you today, sir? Please don't come here because I'm going to go ahead and shut down the border. Run and hide. Now United States is running and hiding. Okay. Anyway, that aside. China, U.S., Europe. China has a virus. U.S. goes, shut down the border. Shut down the border. Shut down the border. Okay, cool. Europe says, not so much, not so much. China goes, Europe goes, okay, so now Europe has the virus. I don't do puppets. Europe has the virus. U.S. has got much less of the virus here, and now U.S. is going, no to the virus over here because Europe, no. And Europe's over going, and U.S. is going, no, and no to China too. And we only have 50 deaths right now and 5,000 cases in the United States. And China's got a whole bunch of it. Europe is really sick, and there are a lot of people dying. And the U.S. is going, okay, everything worked out. Great. Keep those borders shut. Maybe do this other border. Anyway, that's how it's kind of worked. And Democrats have said, we can't close the border. That's xenophobic. No, not really. No, because here's the deal. It's like a hand sanitizer. You got your hand, you got your virus, you got your hand sanitizer you put right here, and the virus goes, I'm going to sneak into the border, and I'm going to get in there, and there's hand sanitizer on there. That's closing the border to the body there, and I can't get in. I know. Something you might want to share with your children. Share with your children that old Uncle Rob used some hand puppets and made common sense out of the whole deal. Robert says, hello. You're one of the best talk show hosts I've ever heard, listening in Lebanon, Tennessee. Thank you. I don't think I suck too bad. I think I'm kind of good at this, even though commercial radio won't give me a break, Bill Hess. Hello, Darren. How are you? So, Joe Biden did a town hall the other night. It was not good. He did a town hall to kind of, and honestly, Joe Biden is a Democrat. I am not a Democrat. I am an independent. I am a conservative. And Joe Biden and I fundamentally disagree. I do think that this former vice president and presidential candidate is in declining mental state. And if you don't get it by now, then you must have some sort of virus, which might include being stupid. But seriously, wow. The vice president, who at this point is being led here and there The vice president who is being literally told, hey, say this now on cue. The vice president, who are people, the former vice president, presidential candidate, who is now being told 7-minute, 6-minute speeches is it, because you can't make it through it without spouting nonsense because you have no idea where you are. And this is a cruel act on an elderly individual who is in declining mental capacity. That's what this is. I don't care who you are. And you may say, well, Donald Trump. Oh, my God, trying to do a Donald Trump. Did I just do a Donald Trump? I don't know if I did. Use Donald Trump. I've never been able to do it now. But Donald Trump, they've been using the 25th Amendment to say he's crazy. He's crazy. He should be removed from office. Hey, no. He doesn't have diminished mental faculties. He has said some things that have upset the apple cart. He says some things in Washington, D.C. He tweets some things to make people go, holy shit, what? But he also is running the country in a very fine fashion. Thank you very much. And you've got Joe Biden, and I'm asking you, including my buddy Steve, who just joined, who disagrees with me fundamentally. Here is an elderly, and he is an elderly gentleman of declining mental and physical health. And he is being led around to do speeches in town halls, and he is continually messing them up. And this is not a benefit to the Democrat Party. This is not a benefit to the country. Here he is at his town hall the other night. This is just a sample, and I'll play a little bit of it. And part of it was also Joe Biden, the people who put this thing together, made it into a cluster F. But here is the vice president, again, in a state of not being able to really focus on where he is, who he is, and all of this, and it's only going to get worse. And I remember this, and I was a kid when Ronald Reagan was president. And yes, he had some issues, but he was nothing like this. Ronald Reagan fully began to experience the manifestations of Alzheimer's when he left office. And he would have minor lapses in memory, which most of us do when we get older. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm in my early 50s. Yeah. Occasionally. And occasionally I just forget things intentionally, like my wife. Oh, honey, God darn it. Son of a gun, I forgot to clean out the refrigerator while you were at work today. Oh, how did I do that? Because I didn't want to frickin' do it. Here is a little bit of Joe Biden at the town hall on, I guess it's Friday.
Being a public option, providing for the additional funding that would provide for no hidden bills, etc.
Joe was holding that in front of him. It's actually a phone. He thought it was a graham cracker. He thought it was something that he would get at the end of the speech if he did a good job.
And I can get it done. I can get it done quickly.
Not sure what you could get done quickly at this point, because just to get the mail in front of your house is about a half an hour, and it's literally 20 feet.
And people would be covered. But even I can't do that for another a year between now and November.
Yeah, that's less than a year from now.
Or actually January.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But to be covered.
And yeah, go ahead and cut. Let's cut and print, and we'll move on here. Here's a little bit more from the virtual town hall. I'll just skip through this real quick here.
Public option,
here we go.
Providing for the additional funding that would provide for no hidden bills, etc. And I can get it done. I can get it done quickly.
Yes.
And people would be covered.
Yes.
But even I can't do that for another 2 years.
Yeah, you already said that.
A year between now and November.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Or actually January.
And we're supposed to feel like he can take on the coronavirus thing. Yeah.
But to be covered.
Yeah.
We're going to take a question now from Maureen Jenkins. Maureen, you are unmuted.
And Maureen, are you there?
Maureen?
Wow. Who decided to do this?
Maureen, are you there?
This is like the first time I did a video podcast 3 years ago. Actually, no, it wasn't this bad. Let's skip forward.
We have a thing, Brazil has the Amazon is burning because they're trying to clear the Amazon in order to make money in agriculture. What I'd be doing is organizing the entire world to say, stop now, stop doing that. We will pay you $20 billion no longer to do this because you have an opportunity to be able to make.
And this matters to what's going on here now. How?
Which I helped put together.
A little bit more.
And then what I would do is in the first 100 days, invite the major polluters in the country and the major abusers of.
Who cares?
Appreciate this, and we do apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. Remember that Election Day is March 17th. If you want to find out more information about voting, please go to joebiden.com or text.
Okay. You see this right here? You see this right here, what I'm doing here? Hello, Gina. Hello, Paul. You see this right here? Look. This is me with a camera, some lights, a background, microphone, and son of a bitch, this looks like frickin' ESPN compared to what Joe Biden just did. Am I right? I'm not saying that, what I'm doing. Well, yeah, no, I'm going to say what I'm doing right here is pretty darn good. Pretty darn good for a guy who doesn't have a TV studio, does not have a cast of characters, runs all of his video clips himself. Compared to what Joe Biden did the other day, are you out of your mind? Are you kidding? I think it looks pretty good. Joe Biden apparently decided to fundraise off the coronavirus. Here's a little bit from Fox News with what was his name? Former chief of staff. I'm doing a Joe Biden right now. But Joe Biden decided to fundraise off the coronavirus and a supposed lack of action by the president.
This is unbelievable what Joe Biden did. Here's the front page of his...
Yeah, Karl Rove, and I'm not a big fan of Karl Rove. I think he's obnoxious as hell. The whiteboard thing he does on Fox News is not really particularly funny anymore. But here he is actually exposing the fact that Joe Biden has decided to fundraise off of the coronavirus, off of the fact that there are people sick and not so much... That isn't even the impact of the virus so far. It's people not being able to make a living. It's people going out and hoarding things. It's all of that stuff.
His email he sent out about 7:40 p.m. tonight. He says, this is a long one. Here's the speech I gave this afternoon. This is a long email, but I hope you will read it all the way through and forward this to family and friends. And then here's the final page. The final page has a donate to Joe Biden button on it. He's raising money off of this. In fact, here's exactly what it says at the end. That piece of paper is pretty small, but this is what it says. This isn't the time to be complacent. If you're ready to fight for the soul of this nation, you can start by donating to elect Joe Biden by clicking the button below, donate to elect Joe Biden. The man is raising money off of the coronavirus challenge facing our country. And does he have no shame? Is there no decency that says, you know what, there's some moments when we shouldn't be taking things and using them for crass political purposes to raise money? He's using it for prospecting. And he's not the only Democrat doing this. 30 minutes after that, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee sent out one saying, breaking, Senate GOP blocks emergency paid sick leave bill from moving forward. It just arrived it was passed by the House this afternoon, arrived the evening at the Senate, and at 8:10 p.m. Eastern time, they're sending out a prospecting piece.
The time for politics has ended. It has ended. I think we saw some of that with the spending bill that was passed on Friday, with the fact that Nancy Pelosi did not say the president's name one time during her address of the nation. And I think that's for a couple of reasons. One, it's no longer benefiting the Democrat Party to fight Donald Trump and say that Donald Trump is effing this up. We've had too many Democrats say he's doing a good job. Okay? And also that Donald Trump is doing a good job. Okay? There's no benefit to shredding him, and if they don't want to credit him either. He's doing a good job, so don't say his name. So there's still some politics going on there. All right, who else has joined us here? Hello, kids, and back to the show. Alan, of course, still with us, and if you would please share with others, that would be great. State Director of Health, licensed physician in Ohio, Dr. Amy Acton, said that basically there have been 5 cases in Ohio so far. 2 are due to community spread. A further 52 people are being investigated. 333 are under supervision. And yet that person, this quack, is saying that Ohio has 100,000 undiagnosed cases of coronavirus. Okay? So 5 cases in Ohio so far. 2 are due to community spread. A further 52 people will be investigated, 333 under suspicion. But this quack, the state's director of health, Dr. Amy Acton, is saying that 100,000 people are just undiagnosed. That is like Bill de Blasio saying that we should assume that everybody in New York City has the virus. Well, you know what? In that case, everybody in New York City has herpes. Everybody in New York City has Ebola. Everybody in New York City has some sort of tuberculosis. Everybody in New York City has whatever. If we're going to assume that, when you are looking at such a small percentage of the population who have been affected, and an even smaller position that are showing symptoms, and an even smaller a smaller percentage that are being hospitalized because of it, and the percentage right now is minuscule. Hello, Robert and Mark and David. Let's get to some chaos. This is at a Sam's Club in Georgia. Fighting over toilet paper, people. And somebody's being hauled off to the hospital. Do you know why? Oh, he got cut up. So a brawl broke out, crowded Sam's Club in Hiram, Georgia. This happened on Thursday. 2 men came to blows, one using a motorized cart. That makes it even classier. So the one person is in the motorized cart. In the motorized cart, bumped into another's cart carrying a child. Well, it makes it even better because one's got a kid, the other one's in a motorized cart. So you got a guy who can't hardly walk, and you got another guy who's got his kid in the cart, and they decided to do a little fisticuffs. God almighty, Jerry. They proceeded to hit each other with wine bottles until the bottles broke, then slashing one another with the shards. Cell phone video showed men tussling on the floor before one of them was taken away on a stretcher. The screaming match occurred. Another screaming match occurred at a Brooklyn Costco Thursday morning as customers waited 40 minutes in line. An employee begged the crowd to calm down as women shouted to him about carts being pushed into them. The same Costco was forced to close its main gates later that day as the stream of customers became too heavy. Hello, Ellie. How are you? Manhattan shoppers. They decided to mob a Trader Joe's of all places. So there's a Trader Joe's. Okay. Usually quiet store, Manhattan's Lower East Side, bombarded by a queue of 50 shoppers desperately trying to stock on supplies. Well, you got to have that cowboy caviar, and that little sample coffee in the back of the store. I love Trader Joe's. My God, it's fantastic. People have gone into a frenzy stockpiling. Death toll on Friday, 2,037 cases in the USA. This is in a population of 35 million people. I love some of their vegan appetizers, by the way. It's spectacular. And their cheeses. If you're going to have a come to cheeses moment, I would go to Trader Joe's because Trader Joe's is crazy. It's just awesome. I don't go to Trader Joe's for meat. Not a lot of good meat, a lot of good things on meat. But, man, they got some great products. And again, that free cup of coffee in the back, that little tiny cup of coffee is pretty darn cool. So there you go. That's Trader Joe's in New York City. Bill de Blasio says that because the United States, because we're experiencing this pandemic, there aren't enough, apparently, virus test kits, which weren't available a couple weeks ago because nobody knew how to test for it, has said that entire portions of our industry should be overtaken by the government because, by God, the government acts a lot faster and always acts more professionally and efficiently than the private sector.
It's just as simple as that. We have been pleading with the federal government for weeks. Publicly, letters.
This is a guy who ran for president for about a month and got blown completely out because he had no clue how ungodly unpopular he is, not only in New York, but around the country.
Phone calls, get us testing.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
Get ahead of this. Here's the reality. This is a war-like situation. We're in a wartime scenario with a Mar-a-Lago attitude being used by...
Oh, here he goes. He's blaming the president. You know what? I'll just say it real quick because I'm unfiltered. You're an asshole!
Federal government, right? It's so laid back. And
it is not laid back. You are trying to pin your failures at the governor of New York on this president.
And I don't understand it. And by the way, testing, how about Ventilators? Where is the federal government making sure that our hospitals have the ventilators we're going to need?
Where are our hospitals assuring that they have ventilators?
The federal government when it comes to surgical masks, getting them distributed where they need. This is a case for a nationalization, literally a nationalization of crucial factories and industries that could produce.
Okay, I believe it was Rahm Emanuel said that don't let a good crisis go to waste. That's what this man, this doofus, God, I almost said president, dear God. This man is saying that we should literally have the government take over industry, all right? Even though industry is the quickest to respond to manufacture and the government has no ability to manufacture whatsoever.
The medical supplies to prepare this country for what we need.
Like they did in Venezuela. They did a great job there.
Hand sanitizer. People are going crazy. I don't blame them trying to get hand sanitizer.
Is it true that we're having hand sanitizer now made in New York? Or
the state has found a way to make it, and that's great. But the point I'm saying is...
Okay, and by the way, here is Mario Cuomo, the governor of New York, saying that the state of New York has come up with its own hand sanitizer. Again, these are the people who run the license bureau, your driver's license bureau. We try and find it here. Hold on. Let's find it. Oh, it doesn't want to play. Mario Cuomo, governor of the state of New York, has said that the state of New York is going to come up with its own hand sanitizer. Said it's better than the private sector. Well, if that's the case, then New York, why aren't you in the hand sanitizer business? Why weren't you last year? Why weren't you the year before? Why were you not in the Clorox wipe business? Why were all these great companies there to make incredible products, and suddenly New York jumps in at the last minute? It's like New York saying, you know what? Cars suck. Let's just go ahead and just start making cars. I don't think that worked too well for the Soviet Union. So I had mentioned that Ohio says, the director of health in Ohio says that there are 100,000 people in Ohio that must have the coronavirus. 80% of the people with the disease experience mild symptoms. 20% should logically require medical intervention. If 100,000 plus of Ohioans have it, there should be a glut of patients at ERs needing oxygen, ventilators, and so on. There are no reports of that whatsoever anywhere in the country. Let me say that again. There should be a glut of patients at ERs needing oxygen, ventilators, and so on. There are no reports of that so far anywhere in the country. Okay. The CDC tracks pneumonia cases. There's been no uptick recently in pneumonia cases. He notes that Ohio officials, this according to, hold on one second, Bedford. Let me look at this here. Trevor Bedford, scientist in Seattle, says basically whenever you know of two people that have it due to community spread, then you can assume that 1% of the population has it. But obviously, per the hospitalization rate, that's not just true right now. Hello, Becca. How are you? Good to see you. I got to play this the other night. My friend Dan Bongino. He's a political pundit, now best-selling author. I had him on the radio for the very first time in Washington, D.C., and there are a lot of people who are spewing Chinese talking points with regard to the virus, including that the virus did not start in China. It was actually implanted in China by American soldiers who were doing military exercises there. It's a line of crap. And also some of the fanatical ravings that have been causing this pandemic and this insanity with regard to rush on groceries, etc. Here is Dan Bongino calling out Geraldo Rivera on Fox News the other night and taking him to the woodshed.
About messaging, and that speech was written by senior advisor Stephen Miller, same guy that imposed the Muslim ban and had pregnant women knocking over each other with babies and all. You could do these things. You do them right. You do them in the American way.
Oh, Dan, bail me out. Geraldo, you realize you're repeating Chinese propaganda here. I hope you understand that. You may be smart enough to know that. No. Geraldo, you are repeating Chinese propaganda on this network. You're suggesting. Hold on.
Talk to the facts. Talk to the facts. I'm spewing Chinese propaganda.
Okay?
You know something? You're lucky you're not in front of me.
Whoa. Wait a minute. The 75-year-old man is telling the 45-year-old former Secret Service agent, you're lucky you're not in front of me.
Chinese propaganda.
I think he's actually 77.
Really? I strongly suggest you rethink that approach.
Geraldo always looks so butthurt when he's getting just annihilated with common sense.
Repeating.
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Chinese propaganda on this channel, and you know it. That Stephen Miller cheap shot is outrageous.
Do you have a fact? Do you have a fact?
Can you be quiet?
Can you make an intellectual argument about anything? Can you make an intellectual argument?
Can you make an intellectual argument? You never have been able to do that, Geraldo. The same guy who had a TV show that I remember in about 1994 had a topic of midgets of the KKK.
You're upset because you're getting called out right now. That's why. Now control yourself and pipe down. The Wuhan virus from Wuhan is a virus from China that is a foreign virus. Blaming it on Stephen Miller.
We talked about that on Tuesday night. We agree.
Stupid.
Wuhan virus is a great idea. Calling it the Wuhan virus is accurate.
Why are you taking cheap shots at Stephen Miller then? Why are you taking cheap shots at Stephen Miller?
Okay, we're done. We're done. We're done. Oh, by the way, this is kind of funny. And I didn't get this the other night. Chris Cuomo, who was on CNN, he's a doofus, had Dr. Sanjay Gupta on. And we're talking about how to disinfect. And is this, are you changing how you wash your hands? Are you doing what your mom said? Are you washing your hands with soap and water for an extended amount of time and then drying them off and then not picking your nose and not touching your face and being careful about what you touch and not licking like your computer keyboard? You know, the things that your mom taught you. Chris Cuomo basically said when Dr. Sanjay Gupta said you've got to disinfect things, Chris Cuomo said not only do you need to do that, you can't just do a cleansing. You've got to do an ethnic version of it. Now, I thought about this. I'm like, well, maybe was he talking about like Chinese people? Are they good about cleaning? Or Italians? Are they good about it? No, he was making a joke about, I guess, ethnic cleansing.
So that's why it's wash the hands, wash the surfaces.
Disinfect all the time. I mean, look, if somebody coughs or sneezes in here, it doesn't matter if you disinfected yesterday. You've got to disinfect again.
Go straight ethnic. Be cleaning everything all the time with the harshest cleaners.
Okay, that ethnic cleansing is what he just said there.
So that's why it's wash the hands, wash the surfaces.
Disinfect all the time. I mean, look, if somebody coughs or sneezes in here, it doesn't matter if you disinfected yesterday. You've got to disinfect again.
Go straight ethnic. Be cleaning everything all the time with the harshest cleaners that you.
Okay,
another question that wasn't on the list, by the way.
Ethnic cleansing is that is a way to get rid of the viruses and stuff like that. I think the Nazis did that. I don't know if that was what their goal was. What is COVID-19, people? What is it? Let's go ahead and get a little report here about. I think it's a British report about what is COVID-19. There we are. Oh, it's Australian.
Of COVID are just like influenza. You might
is an Australian from the Australian Academy of Science. Let's go to Outback and have a steak. Yeah.
Start with a runny nose, a cough, a sore throat, a fever, and then get on to faster breathing and shortness of breath, and maybe even pain when you breathe if you've got pneumonia. But most people are going to just have the symptoms of a cold, a runny nose and a cough, and maybe a mild fever. When COVID-19 takes hold of the body, it's a respiratory condition to begin with, the upper respiratory tract.
That's Australian for respiratory.
Runny nose, cough, etc. Then it goes into the lower respiratory tract and it can cause fluid to accumulate.
That's called pneumonia.
And people to get...
I had that once. It's not fun.
Really quite ill. It can spread through the body and through the bloodstream. It can cause nausea, vomiting and diarrhea in some people, but mostly it affects the respiratory tract.
How long does it last?
The first 5 days you have COVID-19, it seems to get gradually worse. For most people, they then recover over the next 5 days, so it's like a cold. For people who get it severely, maybe 5, maybe 10% of people, after the first 5 days, it can progress to fast breathing, high fever, feeling really quite unwell, and you need to see your GP or go to the emergency department. So it tends to be in the second week of the illness that some people deteriorate and get very unwell.
Who's at most risk?
The people most at risk are the elderly, especially over 75, but anyone over 65 is also at a lesser risk, but an important risk. People with chronic medical conditions of the heart, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys, diabetes, cancer, they are at increased risk, and they need to be especially well looked after in terms of...
Okay, we've already been over this. And wash your hands and don't pick your nose and don't touch your face and all that stuff. We know this. And with every other pandemic, it's always the same people affected. It's always the same people affected. That's it. It's not a surprise. People over 65, people who are old, who are unhealthy. Derp, 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 derp. You know, the common hold is more dangerous to somebody who's 80 years old and has emphysema and lung cancer. You know, really? Is this a surprise to anybody? I don't think so. Oh, this is just true. Mexico is considering closing its borders to stop Americans bringing coronavirus into its country. We've got 5,000 cases, supposedly 50 deaths, and now Mexico's saying, well, we don't have a lot of cases down here, so we're going to go ahead and close the border. This from the country where you go to vacation and people warn you, don't drink the tap water because you'll end up with the diarrhea. Okay, and I've been to Mexico a couple times. Every time I get the diarrhea, pretty much every time, you know. And also the country that has allowed people to come across our border and reintroduce viruses and things that literally we knocked out a century ago. Smallpox and tuberculosis, for instance. Yeah, okay, Mexico, yeah, sure. Close your borders there, Mexico. Gasp, shriek, 35 shows have been canceled, including the Chicago dramas, Law & Order, SVU, and more. The Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med, they've all been canceled. I never watched any of those. I like Chicago, but who cares? Let's see who else. NBC's New Amsterdam, Universal Cable Productions, Angeline miniseries. I don't watch any of that. I watch HGTV and I watch Netflix. CBS series FBI. People still watch the networks. Crazy, right? NBC Universal's first-year hit talk show, Kelly Clarkson's Show, will halt production. Meanwhile, there are other places that are, like the late-night talk shows, no audiences. No audiences. Like the other night, I believe this is on Jimmy Fallon's show, or maybe Jimmy Kimmel's. One of those Jimmys, he actually did the monologue, delivered the monologue without a studio audience.
Now, this is a strange night for us, not only because this is my first time hosting a talk show, because we're doing it without a regular studio audience. Due to public health concerns over the coronavirus, we have canceled the studio audience tonight. But a few kind Kimmel staffers and some friends, my husband Chasten, all here instead. We're going to have a great time. Everyone is spread apart at the CDC recommended distance.
This is really sad.
This was not our plan. We just decided this a few hours ago. The only way we're going to get through this crisis is with unity. So let's do this together. Who's with me? All right. Full disclosure, none of those people are here. But when you don't have a real audience, you have to fake one, just like Trump's inauguration.
That is so funny there, Mayor Beat. But unfortunately, that right there, the crowd that you had right there, was larger than your campaign rallies. It was actually larger. That's why you're no longer in the race, because people just weren't coming out. Meanwhile, the president usually gets like 20,000 indoors and 35 outdoors waiting to get in on his rallies. But they've been canceled because of the coronavirus. But you know who can bring us together? Do you know who can bring us together? I mean, other than me, of course. Gloria Gaynor can bring us together. You know why? Because after this is all said and done, and while this is happening, she said these immortal words. That is the wisest thing that I have heard from anybody. Let's back that up again. The wisest thing that I've heard from anybody in this entire insipid, stupid coronavirus outbreak, from politicians, business owners, and otherwise. Thank you, Gloria Gaynor. I will survive. Come on. Yes, you do. Come on. Thank you now. She will survive. Thank you very much. Gloria Gaynor, right there, people. Right there, said something that's more common sense than anybody is saying. I will survive. And I know I'm trying to make this funny, of course. I'm trying to make this funny. Calm down and carry on. Calm down and carry on. Go out to a restaurant. Go out to a movie. Maintain a safe distance. Use sanitizer. Don't pick your nose. Don't touch your face. And by God, go on with your lives. I had a couple other stories that are not related to the coronavirus. And I'm not going to do them. I'm not going to do them. I'm not going to do them. Because honestly, this is what we're focused on. This is what we're focused on. We have a pandemic, and we are overreacting to it, like Washington, D.C. area and places like Dallas overreact to an inch of snow. It's not funny, though. And more importantly, more than anything, it's impacting the lives of people. And again, I'm going to go, let's look at the numbers again here, okay? In a world of 6.5 billion people, 156,000 people have been confirmed to have the virus. 5,833 internationally have died from it. 74,000 have recovered. In the United States, 2,952. Between 42 and 50 have died. Okay? Need to calm down. Need to come together. I don't care what you are, if you're a Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, socialist, whatever. Let's forget this. Screw the socialists. Go to Cuba and get treated, you morons. We're in this together. And we can hunker down at home, or we can say, you know what, we're going to come together. We're not going to cancel every damn thing in the friggin' world. Yes, we are going to exercise precaution, but by God in heaven, there is too much at stake. There are too many livelihoods at stake, and the government can't bail us all out. The government can't bail out the guy who's working at Domino's Pizza getting a pizza delivered. The government can't bail out the woman who waits tables at Olive Garden, who expects tips and customers and now is getting hosed. Or the guy selling cars. It's a piece in the India Post that I thought was interesting. St. Peter's Square in the Vatican is deserted. The Pope, Supreme Pontiff, has canceled all meetings and engagements in Vatican City. Bethlehem has been locked down. The Church of the Nativity, built on the site that Christians believe was the birthplace of Jesus, was also closed on Thursday for worshipers in modern history. It's the first time that worshipers to God are not allowed where they should be. Is God unhappy with mankind? According to legends and believers in God, a time will come when the supplicants, prayers, and worship of mankind will be rejected by God. And when will such a time come? Well, has God ever been happy with us? I mean, if you look at history, and I'm assuming that many of countries that have evolved and saved people like the United States of America have done a pretty damn good job of being the greatest economic and individual freedom engine in the history of mankind. We done some pretty good stuff, but by God, I don't think there's any time, by God, by that guy. Have we ever really, as a whole, given God a moment of, hey, everything's cool? Have we? Has he really? Believers in God say that if he's unhappy, he will turn away from mankind, and if he turns away from mankind, Satan will take over. Satan will be helping all wrongdoers, and only God can stop Satan, blah, blah, blah. Verse in the Quran states that, lo, those who believe and those who are Jews, Christians, Sabians, I'm not sure what that is, whoever believeth in God in the last day and doeth right, surely their reward is with their Lord, and shall no fear come upon them, neither shall they grieve. Okay, I don't like quoting scripture. Surprisingly, this verse is not meant for Muslims only, but an assurance that anyone who believes in God and does right will be rewarded. I know a lot of people who don't believe in God, and they're damn good people. I do believe in God. from the last part of, let some people stand for the right and injustice against humanity, which we all should. These people are alone will save mankind from catastrophic calamities, and only for such people God will not turn away from mankind. I don't think that God will turn away from good people, whether you believe in God or not. But, I'm not a religious scholar. But I sure as hell, I think, have a lot more common sense than Joel Osteen. I don't like him at all. I don't. And certainly don't like Jim Baker hawking cures for the coronavirus. I want to thank you guys for joining me, Matthew and Tina and Greg and Michelle and all of you guys. Even though I have a small platform that is growing, I felt like I needed to say something today. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to sit and take this. I'm not going to sit and take this. I'm not going to sit and let businesses struggle. And I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to let moms who are trying to make a living waiting tables, and I'm not going to just sit here and ball up and let us die. That's not the way we are. That's not the way we are. We can't be this way. Your toilet paper will be there. Your toilet paper will be there. Listen, I've created enough paper products to last me for a week just on this show alone. We cannot behave this way. We've got to come together, and the only thing that is going to bring us together is we. The only thing that is going to get us through the crisis is we. We are the only thing that can get us through this. It's not going to be a government spending bill. For God's sake in heaven, it's not going to be Nancy effing Pelosi. It's us. Hello, Christine. How are you and Henry and all you guys? Will you share this? Will you share this? Even as the broadcast ends, I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel, which is at Rob Carson Show. And if you would share that, that would be great. Okay? In the meantime, have a good day, and don't be too freaked out about everything, and just chill out. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Keep calm. Carry on. Chill the hell out. All right? Have a glorious day. God bless you guys, and I'll see you again soon.